Hey y'all. I feel like I should be. Hello. I feel like I should be sponsored by LaCroix. LaCroix. Because I've been drinking this the whole time I'm on here. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. No. They ain't pay me for this ad, y'all. They ain't pay me for this. Alright. So I spaced out a little bit. And I forgot to write down some of the questions that people had asked. I put them on the my story. A few of the ones people, hello my dear, I'm gonna let you in a minute. I posted a few of the questions on the story, but people DM'd me directly some questions. So if I don't answer it specifically, it might be formed into other questions that people asked that sounded similar, that maybe y'all all need the same types of healings. So I'ma let Alex in. Oh, so juicy. She got the. Oh, I'm gonna let you see the outfit reveal. I'm gonna let you see the outfit reveal. I'm gonna let you see the outfit reveal. Let's see. Ooh. Hold on. Why won't it let me invite you in? Uh-oh. Having a little bit of technical difficulties. My Instagram's being slow. Sorry, guys. I think I gotta do it this way. Let's see. See if this works. But yeah, so this made me think. Well, this made me think. Oops. I was hitting the vape pen. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's right here, so that on me. This idea came to me. Oh, yay! Okay, I'm gonna let you see the outfit reveal. This idea came to me just because a lot of folks had
I'm here.
yes.
Yes.
Show them the braid. She got the braid out.
I got the braid. Listen, hello. I'm like, black is king, and I'm like, yes.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you.
You are so welcome. Thank you for having me. Beautiful.
Yeah, of course, of course. I was just getting ready to tell everyone this idea came to me, and I had reached out to you because it was just there's just like this new generation of people who now have all this information about alternative therapies, different types of methods they can use, and just because they have access to them, as I hold my vape pen, just because they have access to them doesn't mean that it's necessarily they're doing what they need to be doing to facilitate uh, a better sense of wellness, and specifically their mental health. And so I just was like, okay, I see a lot of people ask me, how do you get weed to help you with this? Like, how does this help you with that? And I want to help people understand more. So I thought that having you come in and really, like, I want people to pick your brain. I want you to just, like, be honest. You don't got to agree with me on everything either,
Right.
too, because you know what? You're the mental health professional. I'm the cannabis. So,
For it. No, I definitely
it's
am here to answer any questions that I can. And once again, I just want everybody to remember, like, a lot of it is my opinion or facts or opinions that I based off of my research, and then my own life. Also, I put a lot of my own life into what I think would be best for individuals' mental health. But I have done a lot of study into what is best to help us, and I hope that this interview here can help other individuals kind of find the boundaries between what they need and not indulging too much into those holistic things like weed and other things.
Yeah, no, and that's fair to say, because even there a lot of the stigma with cannabis is misinformation or lack of information. So you can't really base things in fact when it's all anecdotes, like anecdotal,
Right.
things that people have said. And I think that as much as we may say it helped us with certain things, and we do have some research to certain things in regards to cannabis helping us, that I would say for me particularly, I had found that, like, everybody thinks I'm like queen CBD. Like, CBD has helped me a lot, but I am THC more than I CBD. Like, I keeps it real. Like, people, like, if anybody really really knows me, they know that I'm THC all day. But when I do have my own mental health issues. I've been in therapy for a long time. I've had different diagnoses that later were, disputed. I was told that I was bipolar, and later then told by another therapist. She was just like, what, where?
Yeah,
So it's
bipolar
just
disorder
weird.
and autism are the most overdiagnosed disorders. It takes 10 years to properly diagnose someone, to really
Yeah.
properly get down. But unfortunately, with insurance companies, you have to have that label to get paid. Somebody's got to
Mm.
label you, and that's the system. The part of the system that I dislike and I try to stay away from, and I try to, why I want to do private practice, because that insurance company makes you kind of jump the gun and say, I got to label this person. And then we say that to you, and that kind of messes with your mind sometimes. You become that label sometimes instead of two separate entities. And that can mess somebody up. And when it's a false label, now we're messing somebody up even more. So I don't all the way agree with that, but I want people to keep in mind that truly it takes 10 years. And I'm a true believer, 10 years to properly, really. And I want to say this, and I'm pretty sure we'll get into this. A lot of it stems back from my experience to trauma.
Yep.
Trauma. And then you have a symptom of depression or anxiety, but it all stems from your childhood trauma. So really what we need to do is begin to heal that childhood trauma, which will ultimately help you heal you became depressed because that's a defense mechanism. Your body is just trying to figure something out. Like, I need to be calm. I need to settle. It's too much going on. So just always keep those things in mind. It becomes very hard because at the end of the day, in my experience, it comes down to trauma. And we're just now learning so much about trauma, how trauma gets stuck in the brain and all these different things.
Yeah, you said it when you said trauma, because you read my mind, because that's exactly what I was going to say. Was like, as much as I could use the THC and all of that, it wasn't until I realized, like, I was still feeling like this overwhelming sense of depression, because it didn't matter how numb I made myself in certain moments, or happy I got and giggly and everything, where I thought I was addressing the mood. So I addressed the mood, but not the root of the cause. And the root of the cause was trauma. And just to I did the This Is Jane project, and it's about women who've experienced trauma throughout their lives and how they use cannabis. And I thought I had an understanding of trauma, right? No.
Yeah.
When I sat there and I listened, and it all resonated with me, and I'm like, damn. And I tell this one story about one woman, and she just said she could never figure out why her bedroom was always dirty. And why could she never find her clothes in the right order? Why was it, everything was just always disordered. And she thought she loved herself, and then she realized she's not honoring herself. She's depressed.
Mm-hmm.
and it comes from trauma. Like, it's just like, it's insane that, I really just, what has been the, why is it taken until now? Do you have any insight into that? Like, why has it taken so long for people to realize, like, it's our, like, all that's
I
a
think
big
that
part
just
of it?
the advancement in technology has allowed us to be able to look into the mind a little bit more. So because we didn't have that technology, or that we didn't understand, we're coming from a place where once people that were depressed were like crazy and locked away. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so we're coming from that, we're transitioning more to understand that mental illness is an imbalance, or can be from our environment. And I think it's just it took so long just because, one, the technology, and then various other things, oppression and just the stigma of mental health that was going on for so long. We're also more open to it the more and more. And that's the one thing I love about us, the younger generation. Even I see older people like are more open to it, but I'm seeing more and more today that we're more open to it, and that's allowing us to learn more, and the technology is allowing us to learn more. And people, I think, from different walks of earth are becoming therapists, and we're finding people that have been through different things are also doing the research. We base a lot of our knowledge off of research from a certain culture, when in reality we're all different, especially when it comes to culturally. So we need to explore it differently, and look into environments like urban areas and how that takes a toll on the mind. I think a lot of us are experiencing PTSD just from being in violent environments, and we don't even realize it, and then we become desensitized. Like, I remember in Philly, they were having a shootout in West Philly. I don't know if you remember. Not in West Philly, it was in North Philadelphia. The guy was shooting at the cops. There was kids riding bikes like it was a regular day. Everybody's outside just looking, and I'm like, this is desensitization. We've seen so much violence and crime that we're not even fighting anymore. We're not even running. We're riding our bikes like this is normal, and that's not healthy.
No. That pours out eventually one day. I think people, like, you can only take so much. You can only see so much, feel so much, and then, I think that's a large part of what, like, this awakening is now, is like, we have been desensitized to everything. Like, we just were supposed to work sick. We were just supposed to be sad. Like, you're not supposed to go see a shrink. I was actually talking to the girl who did my lashes today about that.
Hey, girl, you look good too.
But,
yes, I see
you. But we were talking about that. I was just like, yo, everybody, like, if you don't have a therapist, we're like, why don't you have a therapist? Like, you need to get one. But, like, the older generation, as soon as you would say, oh, she goes to therapy.
Right, she's
You're
crazy.
I'm like, no, not at all. It's because you crazy. I gotta go to therapy.
Right. And in the world that we live in, 2020 alone, like 2020 alone, we all need a therapist from 2020. We all gonna have PTSD from 2020. I'm sorry, but a lot of us are gonna have PTSD from 2020. It was rough, and I think everybody, you just never know what's gonna come up, and you never know what you have to work through. The one thing about trauma is a lot of people disassociate, so you forget it, but you're still triggered. So you'll still say you get really mad over situations that other people might not get as mad of. That might be a trigger from something that happened. And your body and your mind is placed right back into that trauma. You might not be there, but your body feels like you're there, and it reacts like you're there.
Yeah.
And it's not until we heal that we're able to regulate those emotions. And healing is just finding a resolution, whatever it may be for yourself. It might not be the biggest thing, like confronting that person. You might not always be able to get a sorry from somebody. But it's realizing that it's not you that's the issue, but it might be them or whatever's going on with them, or just figuring out. I think a lot of times with our trauma, we internalize it, and that impacts our self-esteem and our self-worth. And that's why I created Worthy Lifestyle, because it all comes down to you really ultimately knowing your worth, no matter where you come from or what you've been through.
Before we get into everything else, tell everybody, because I don't think everybody here knows, like my followers, or about the Worthy Lifestyle, like that, and the app and everything that you offer.
Okay, I got you. I'm okay, so I'm a therapist. My journey began because I'm also a childhood trauma survivor. I went through a lot as a child, experienced a lot. I was homeless. My aunt died and we showed up like minutes afterwards, seen the scene and everything. And that was like, I was like 6 years old. My father died when I was 12. So just experiencing that. My mom was on drugs most of my life. Experiencing all these things really led to me not having the self-worth that I needed. I didn't have a good attachment with my mom in the beginning. She had her own mental health issues. And a lot of people don't know is that attachment that you have with your mom when you're 1 and 2 that you really have no control over, it really impacts your self-esteem and your personality. It really does. And so I started to learn these things. I always wondered, why was my mom the way that she was? I felt like I was an okay child. Like, why do I live like this? So I began to look into that. I wanted to know why people acted like how they acted. You know, a lot of my family were alcoholics, and I just wanted to know. My mom was supposed to be one of the best hairdressers in the world, and my dad was supposed to be one of the best chefs in the world, but I saw trauma take them both down and not live to their full potential. And that's when I realized I wanted to create Worthy Lifestyle, because I never wanted to settle. Even though I have a story that, you know, in the books, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be somewhere else struggling. But I realized that there was various things I had to do to take care of my mind first. And there was nothing wrong with it. You know, I had to take a lot of time off to take care of my mind and heal. Because I'm a true believer, if I didn't, I was going to self-destruct. If you keep working, because that's another defense mechanism, working.
Yeah.
I did that. Oh, I wasn't healing, I was just working. Let me just work. It'll heal itself, but it doesn't. It just buries. And then you explode one day and everybody's looking at you like, sis, what is going on? And I didn't want to do that, or have kids and repeat the cycle. Oh no, I didn't want to do that either. I had to end this generational curse here. And that's where I was like, this, I have to take care of this. Nobody else wanted to take care of this in my family. So I figured, and I realized that was the starting point. And it truly is. But unfortunately, it's so stigmatized that nobody wants to do it. Like I took 2 years after undergrad, I took 2 years off. I didn't work. I didn't care what anybody thought about me. I didn't care about being an adult and buying a house and all that. I cared about fixing my mental health because I knew everything else was going to fall in line after that. And it was the key. I suffered from major depression. And when we talk about weed, or you wanted to talk about it, I found it funny because that was my crutch. Oh my God, y'all thought weed was going to save my life. It made it worse, especially with depression. Depression and weed, ooh, it's just like, it don't really mix, y'all. It don't mix. Because it make you sit down, and with depression, when you're depressed, you want to stay down, and you stay down, now you're getting your thoughts. And now we're thinking about all this, and now, fuck, I'm hopeless. Forget it. The whole day is squashed. Let me just smoke this.
And that is definitely something that I want to point out to people. It's about mindful consumption, because if you can have depression as an issue, like we are talking about mental health, but you could be using cannabis for your back pain, which also then the side effect is that you're affecting your mental health, because your back pain, chronic back pain, is going to cause depression.
Yeah,
like,
yes it is. Yeah, there are a lot of physical illnesses that ultimately cause mental illnesses. I mean, if somebody gets diagnosed with cancer, you think they're about to be walking around happy go lucky. No. And a lot of people don't think about that either.
No, not at all. They don't realize their brain does so much.
And I don't say, and I am here for medical marijuana in certain cases, but I am a big believer, and why I created Worthy Lifestyle, which I'm gonna talk about a little bit. Worthy Lifestyle is a mobile app, where I just wanted to give you all the resources so you can become the best version of yourself, your own therapist. When I was trying to help my mom, I couldn't find a lot of the resources, or I couldn't understand. I couldn't comprehend. I was just like, what is this? You're speaking a different language. So I wanted to put something together where individuals could just go there and get the help that they need prior to maybe going to therapy, because I know it's not always accessible or affordable. But that would just be that first step for you to really begin to know your worth. But I am not against medical marijuana. It's just only in certain circumstances. because
Yes.
I'm also a big believer that you have everything inside of you to heal and to be happy and to not
Yes.
need anything.
Yeah.
I always tell my clients, what happens when you just that one day, it's a really bad day and there's nothing around. There's no weed. You can't, there's nobody to call. I want you to self-regulate. And that's why we're not taught in schools, and we all need to be able to self-soothe. You know, be able to calm down on our own. And don't get me wrong with the physical. We're going to get into that. Now, a lot of that, don't hate me for this, is what y'all eating. It's what y'all eating. And we're not going to get started. I don't know how woke y'all are, but they put poison in your food. They are putting stuff in your food to make you physically sick a lot of the time. And then the food, our bodies are trained, our immune systems are trained to fight a lot of different illnesses. But because we have mucus buildup because of the food that we eat, our immune system isn't able to fight. And they designed that so that we could keep going back to the doctors and paying them all this money. Now, that's not for everything. I don't want y'all to think that I think that's for everything. But there are a lot of things out here that are caused from the things that we eat. And that's why healing is such a wide spectrum. It's therapy. It's really 50% of what you eat. It's working out. And it's like you were saying, just managing those holistic medicines in a good way, not overdoing it. Too much of anything can be bad for you. I know I gave you a lot of everything just then.
No, it's all good because it's all stuff that I touched on. Like, and it's so funny because you said, and I had said this the other day, that you know, I'm gonna post this video in the upcoming weeks, but like everybody forgets who they are. You want, this technology has helped us, but it has also hindered us because we want to look to Google for the answers, but we forget we are the Google. Like that's where the answers came from, was from us. Like it's all within you. You have to use your mind to overcome all of these things. And if you're not utilizing the holistic tools in the best fashion, you're going to set yourself back. And it's the same thing. And as much as I do not take any type of pharmaceuticals, if you are somebody who takes pharmaceuticals and you're doing it improperly, it's not going to help you. It's if you took Xanax to manage PRN means as needed. I know I always say that.
Right.
But if you take Xanax as needed when you're having a panic attack and it's, you know, whatever, yes, you can learn all these coping mechanisms from that. That's great. But then there's also the spectrum of people who are now taking Xanax just because it's Friday and I need to be calm and relaxed and I need that. So it's like, it's the same thing. And what I want people to understand about cannabis is that I have abused cannabis for probably, I'm gonna keep it real with everybody. When I first started this business, I probably within that year or so, I had a really bad breakup. I had a lot of trauma happen in a small amount of time. And alcohol, you can't drink all the time.
Right.
But I could smoke and I could eat an edible till I passed out, and it was great. And it was just excess. It was excess. It was excess. So a few of the things that I started to do was just like, well, fall asleep in my plate of food because I ate too many damn edibles. But after that, like, it was just like kind of like embarrassing. And then I needed it all the time. And people would see me at the sesh, and everybody knows if you saw me at the sesh, I'm going to come at the very end. I'm going to be tore up out my mind, floating. And guess what? That can be okay when you need it, when you want to have fun, you want to cut loose, right?
Right.
But that should not be how you are treating a condition.
Right.
Getting lazed out of your mind just so you're not feeling anything is not the way to do it. If the whole point of that is to get people to cut back on smoking, because this was one of the questions I was asked. So if you're trying to cut back on smoking, one of the things that I learned about was I went to an event with Livy Smalls. She is actually on Cooking with Cannabis on Netflix. She was in the last episode. Yeah, vegan. She's my mentor.
Oh,
so
that's so cool.
I went to an event of hers and I met a group and they were selling smokable herbs with CBD flower. And I was like, this is very interesting. That's how I learned about Blue Lotus. That's how I learned about smokable herbs. Like I had heard about them before, but by incorporating these herbs into my cannabis, I use less cannabis. And from there, I had a greater awakening about like, yo, why am I smoking so much? Or I find that, okay, I didn't smoke when I first woke up in the morning, and then I'm a little bit reluctant to smoke later in the day, or, oh, I don't want an edible. And I became much more selective about the type of cannabis I was using too. So you ended up being a better quality cannabis, which just in general, like you're going to put better quality food in your body, you're going to feel better.
Right.
So I started doing that, and then smokable herbs. So I'm going to plug myself real quick, and we're going to still continue our conversation as I plug myself.
Please.
But I made shaman smoke, and shaman smoke this is why I've been talking about Blue Lotus so much, and I've seen that people have had kind of like still need guidance with it. But shaman smoke is just herbs and it's CBD flower. I've shown it before, but it just looks like that. You would grind it up and you can smoke it with your THC cannabis.
Okay.
So you're using less of it, or just as like how you would, try to replace a cigarette with Nicorette, you would just roll up something with this completely. The CBD hemp flower is still going to give you a nice relaxation. Blue Lotus provides a slight euphoria, and it helps you sleep. So it's also good for people who have insomnia and that kind of thing. So it's very helpful. I use smokable herbs all the time. So I specifically wanted to make sure I got that, because that was one thing. Like people are like, how do I feel like I'm not using too much? And it's also a little bit is make sure you're not using too much. It's up to you. It's up to you for that. And you really got to self-parent there. Because sometimes, like, we could eat cookies and cake for breakfast, but that don't mean that
exactly that you need to keep going. That's amazing. When we're off the call, send me more information about that so I can promote that.
Okay, yeah, sure, definitely. But the smokable herbs, I'm trying to think of the other question, because somebody specifically sent me a question, and I was like, oh, don't forget this. And I forgot this.
I mean, that's that week.
But it's like mental health and cannabis. If I have to say also, so I had done like cognitive behavioral therapy for a long time.
CBT.
And I was lucky that I educated my therapist. She was very anti-cannabis, and when she saw me doing a lot of work with CBD, and then started asking me questions, and she became more educated, and she knows not everybody does use the cannabis the same way, but to be able to explain to her, like, some days, and you can totally disagree with me on this because I want your perspective, but sometimes I couldn't speak to her unless I medicated, and I'm not saying face a blunt, but take a few hits of my pen or my joint or whatever, because I didn't want to be there anyway, but I knew I needed to be, and I knew I had a purpose. And I think that if you put behind the appropriate intentions, set your intentions, and if you have an issue with portion control, then don't roll the whole blunt and think that you're gonna not smoke it, because you are.
Right.
Don't lie to yourself.
Right.
But like, what are your feelings in regards to, I guess, people using their medicine for talk therapy, or what would be your recommendation for somebody if they wanted to incorporate talk therapy for the first time and they know that they're a medical cannabis patient? Like, how would they approach that? Like, if they wanted to see that, because I know a lot of people just won't even share that information, but some people feel like it's needed.
Okay, so the biggest part of therapy is making sure, and I know this is really hard because it's not that accessible, but making sure that the person that you're talking to is somebody that you're comfortable in the first place. If you're not comfortable enough to tell them that you smoke weed, how are you going to tell them about the trauma that you went through as a child? And that's no judgment, but I think so many of us think that we're just stuck with the first therapist that accepts our appointment. And I try to always emphasize that you have to make sure you're comfortable with that person, that the vibes are good, that it's genuine, that that relationship works and it's therapeutic. So I would say if you and also side note, I'm not one that's against weed and anxiety. I think it can very much, it goes together. Like that for me makes sense. Now weed and depression, if you have depression, please no, like that's going to pull you back down. But anxiety, I do get that. But once again, I just want you to remember how your mind works. Our minds always work on autopilot. So the best thing, and I know it's also often the scariest thing, is to just go out there and do what is uncomfortable without anything. Because that's really what's going to show you that I can do this and I don't need anything. But say I go take a couple L's. The next time I get uncomfortable, my brain is automatically going to tell me I need to smoke before I can go do that. So now we're going down this rabbit hole of every time my brain is just telling me I need to go do that in order to do this. And now I'm thinking that this is working because I feel comfortable. But I promise you that that first time, if you would have tried to go without the weed and would have seen that it could have been success, your brain wouldn't have turned to weed the next time. You would have been like, okay, I might be able to do this. But once again, I don't judge anybody because one, let me say I do smoke weed. I did have a really bad problem with smoking weed. And that's why I say the depression and the weed don't mix. Mm-hmm. But if you do it in dosage and you can do it and, you know, it's not so much of a crutch. But my biggest thing, if I'm your therapist, I'm going to tell you, you have it all inside of you and you don't need that weed. You don't need any of that. It's all inside of you. And let's figure out what are the thought processes that are making you get anxious prior to it. And let's reframe it. Mm-hmm. The weed is just a Band-Aid. Yeah. You know, it is. And I get it, especially with anxiety. Listen, I do public speaking. People, like I get it. But then I'm also, sometimes when I smoke, my mind's not as clear. So then I'm also like, all right, I'm doing a speak. I'm not as anxious, but my thoughts, like, they're a little jumbled up there because of the weed. So I got to figure out which balance, like, what is better. But I'm a true believer. I think weed is good for us. But my mind keeps reminding me of what I'm going to say. We also have to remember that we're in the United States. A lot of forces are against us. I think at this point, the weed that we smoke isn't what our moms and dads used to smoke. I think the stuff is put in there to lower our frequency. They want to keep us at this depressed, lowered frequency. They do not want us to elevate. And now they got their hands in it. Well, they've always had their hands in it. Believe it or not. They put every drug on our doorstep. But I'm a true believer that the weed that we smoke, and I'm guilty of it, it's lowering our frequency. It is putting us in spaces that, and you can help me with that. Maybe there's different options. Maybe it's like, because I am a backwood smoker, so maybe it's like the leaf that. But I've been doing a lot of research, and I just feel like a lot of the chemicals, pesticides.
No. You're not wrong. Do you think Blaze Reiki Shark can affect the vibe? That is gonna be more for your energetic level versus their vibrational. Okay, not vibrational, but their actual, the way that they're caring for the plants. That's why I say that about the food that we eat, how you said, and then like, you know, the cannabis. If you're getting better quality cannabis where it's small craft and taken care of, and you know that nobody has sprayed it, it has been well maintained, somebody talked to it with love, there was music playing for it, like there is, and you will see that. And you know what, as a matter of fact, you'll even see that in some of these different dispensaries. Like when we used to bring physicians on tours, to Garden State Dispensary, we couldn't go in there one day because they were playing music for the plants. So
Okay.
that goes to show you that these people are taking these extra steps, but it is about you being mindful as to where you're getting it. And just because it's a fancy label or a nice label or whatever, don't think it's not trying to also kill you. Like, don't, it's the same thing with food. Just because you
Exactly.
see, you know, a craft doesn't, okay, well, we know craft. That's great. But how much crap is in that?
Right.
And then you're
Exactly.
putting it in your
Right.
body.
Right. And
Same
that,
with cannabis.
yeah, and that's my thing. So that's where the struggle is. I always think my biggest step is, I mean, take little steps. I'm a big believer, take little steps to get to that big goal. Like
Mm-hmm.
if it's, you know, taking a couple of puffs, maybe one day 4 and then down to 3 and then down to 2 and down to 1 and then you go see your therapist without any. I'm
Yep.
cool with that because I think that that's feasible. That's what we need to do. Sometimes we try to jump out the window with our goals. You got to make little tiny baby steps and be proud of yourself for every baby step that you make. But I do urge everyone to know that you have it within yourself to become that person. And that's me saying it from somebody that did it. Like I did it myself. Where you can talk to yourself and all those anxiety and depression, you can separate yourself from it and you don't have to let it control you. Our thoughts lie to us a lot. And that's what we have to remember. There's a lot of things impacting our thoughts, social media, if you're spiritual, the devil, the food that we eat. Sometimes the weed that we smoke is impacting our thoughts and our thoughts are lying to us. And then we believe it because we think, okay, it's in my head, that's me. But you also have to remember that sometimes even you lie to yourself. And you have it within yourself to kind of get yourself out of that. You don't need weed. You don't need any drug. Somebody just needs to help you heal and then figure out how to reframe your thoughts. Mm-hmm. And I used to get so mad at that when my therapist first told me that, like, it's just your thoughts. You have to reframe your thoughts. Thinking about what do you mean it's just my thoughts? Like, it's not that easy.
What?
It is that. But it's not that easy to change it because me being 29 years old, I've been thinking this way for 29 years. It's not going to be a switch of the light and now I'm thinking differently. Yeah. It's every time I have a negative thought or I have anxiety, I have to remind myself and talk to myself. You know, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And kind of healing yourself, loving on yourself. Yeah.
And mind your company too, because if you're around
energies,
people who, and this goes for also who's in your smoke circle, who's in your smoke session. Like if you're surrounding yourself with low vibrational people, they're gonna be gaslighting you constantly that you're trying to ascend and you're trying to think differently, and they don't want you. Why are you reaching over there? Why you need to come sit back down with us? So you really need to be just completely mindful of your environment, of your complete microcosm, your ecosystem, you, the complete wholeness of you, mind, body, spirit, everything that you surround yourself with, even to make sure, even prior to you using your cannabis, don't do it in a space that's all cluttered and dirty and nasty. Like, if you're going to treat it as something that's honoring you, then you need to make sure that you're honoring yourself and use beautiful things that you like, and make sure that it's something that is actually making you feel good. And like how you said, it's a Band-Aid, because you could just be slapping that Band-Aid on, but and even still, I could put the Band-Aid here and the wound could be here. Like, so it didn't do me any good. I didn't have any direction or intention.
Right. Like, mind you, we're talking about mental and healing. I'm a true believer in a lot of physical pain, like kids with cancer. I'll give my child weed. You know, there's a lot of like things like that, like physical, but mental, I don't think it helps us as much as we can help ourselves.
I believe that. I do, and I have cut down a lot. Once I cut down a lot on using cannabis, I stopped having a lot. Well, I had to address more issues. I actually got into using psychedelics, specifically mushrooms, for PTSD, and that had helped me a great deal to get through a lot of trauma, because people would always say to me when I started using the mushrooms that they were like, oh, let's go here and we're gonna go in the park and we're gonna do this. And it was literally me in my room for 4 to 6 hours, crying my eyes out, just processing all of the things that things that I knew. I was like, oh yeah, that was me just trying to shove that down about 10 years ago. And now here it is. And it forced me to deal with so much that I was able to work through those traumas, that a lot of my physical ailments ceased to exist. And
Right.
I'm not trying to say this for everyone, but a big thing with my page when I first started it was my legs would give out and I wouldn't be able to walk. And now that I can look back on it, and it was always around when something traumatic happened. It was literally like my central nervous system just was like, oh, girl, you've been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, you need to stop. Like, we can't take it anymore right now. We're shutting down. Boom. And just literally my root just closed. And once I was able to open here up, these started working and I needed less of this. Like, it all went in. And then when I did smoke, I could smoke for reasons to enjoy it and not because, all right, I have to make myself feel better. This is the worst
Right.
ever.
Right. And I'm all here. I'm for social weed. Like, go ahead, have fun, smoke with your friends every once in a while. But honestly, like, if it's to feel better or to erase something or to not think about something, let's just deal with that. Let's rip the Band-Aid off, deal with it now, so that you're not always burying it for the rest of your life and then it popping out in different places. And to go back off to what you said, that when people a lot of times will have physical ailments due to their mental illness, a lot of times too, when they dissociate. So when I'm not really realizing that there's trauma, my body will respond by something hurting, like a physical. I used to get headaches a lot, never knew why. Migraines all the time, and it was because of my mental. I was stressing. I was doing too much, and it takes a toll on you. And that's why I say, like, it really is key to take care of our minds. And healing and making sure that we are at our best and not to settle. You know, things have happened to you, but that doesn't have to be who you are. And I think once we become adults, it's really our job to begin to dig deep into that. And I always tell my clients, you do have options. Like, you can continue to live how you are. I'm not saying everybody needs to get right, do this is how you're supposed to live. However you want to live is how you want to live. But don't, like, I'm a believer you should leave this earth at least happy. Like, at least. Like, at least. Because we don't get
like,
much.
yo, like, really, like, what was the whole point? And that's something, like, when people are like, oh, well, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. And I'm like, yeah, but if what you're doing is making you miserable,
right, ultimately,
then are you really having a good time?
And you're only having a good time for that 5 to 10 minute high.
Yeah.
You know,
no matter what.
And then you think about it again, and now you got to do it again. And let's not talk about money, guys. Money. I don't know how everybody got so much money to be spending on this, which causes more stressors. Sometimes this can lead into other things, because now we're spending money on this and not our bills, and now we're stressed out about this, and now we're just right back into square one.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think it's just about weighing your options, talking to experts, figuring out what's best for you. Everything should be individual. We're all individual. We've all gone through different things and seen different traumas. Start to unpack that trauma. I'm telling y'all, that's the key. I really think it's like the key to everything.
You hold it for whatever reason. It's just like, I mean, we addressed this in the beginning, but it's like the trauma part is the biggest thing I think that people need to understand with plant medicine, because there's plenty of people who take pharmaceutical medications that have chemical imbalances. And if you have a chemical imbalance and you truly need this medication, by all means take it. But somebody, and this is my opinion, I am not a licensed mental health professional, blah, 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 legal shit. But like, if you come to somebody and you're like, I'm depressed, and they're like, well, take this, and they didn't ask you why, where you came from, what did you do, how did you get this way, anything. They didn't ask anything. Then why the hell are you so ready to pop a pill before you tell some, like, you can't. You wouldn't even take something if you knew you were allergic. You have to let them know you're allergic. They
Right.
ask your medical history. It's the same thing with your mental health history, with your past. If people aren't asking about your past and how you got there, then they can't help you. They're not there. They're for big pharma. They're not for you. And I'm not trying to, I don't like big pharma, but if you need pharmaceuticals, by all means, treat your chemical imbalances. Some people are better that way. And
Yes.
don't let this movement fool you that you only need plant medicine. It is not true for all. But if you're going to just use plant medicine, you need to be doing active work with other aspects of your life. And I'm talking directly into the damn camera because I truly mean this. If you are not addressing other aspects of your life that are falling apart and failing, if you are not eating the appropriate foods, if you are not exercising, if you are not taking care of your mind, taking care of you and honoring yourself, and you want to walk this earth like you're a king or a queen, how the hell are you supposed to be a king or a queen if you don't honor yourself? And if your whole life people told you were trash, that's what you're going to believe. And that's how you're going to live your life, is to be trash. And you have to retrain yourself. It is not easy at all. But that's why there's people like Alex that can help you with it. She's made a freaking app for you guys. Like, get the app, y'all.
Please, yes, please do. And then reach out to me. But like you said, just to reiterate, it really isn't just, first of all, it's not even just going to therapy. You can go to therapy every day, and it's not just it that you need to do. When I really say that this food part is one of the most important parts of it, that's 50% of it. Legit 50%. And then the other 50 is therapy, working out, meditation. Oh, meditation will save your life. If you meditate every day for 10 minutes, I meditate every day for 10 minutes for a year, and then call me. I'm telling you, so many, it's the simplest things, and it's really these things. And it's always been around us, and our ancestors have always been using them, but they put it under a rug so they could throw medicine at us and all these expensive things at us, so that money game. But guys, please look into what you're eating. Look into just what you need to do to heal. The various things. And also look into talk therapy. And talk therapy isn't the only option. You have art therapy, you have music therapy, you have EMDR. EMDR is what I did. EMDR is an eye movement regulation therapy. They move their fingers in front of your eyes, and it unlocks the trauma in your brain. You begin to say things you didn't even know was in there. I was in there like, so there are so many options. Our body is our brain and our bodies are magical in the things that they can do. And let me also reiterate this. Everything is reversible. I don't care how far you've fallen off the wagon. I don't care how far. I tell this story all the time. My mom is 40. I think my mom's like 48. My mom was homeless. I've never seen my mom really work. Maybe when I was younger for a little bit. She was on drugs for a very long time. I never thought my mom would get help. Or could. My mom has done a 360, a total 360. She has a job. She goes to work every day. She has not missed a day in 4 years. She has not relapsed. Everything is reversed. And we're talking about a 45-year-old woman that was living her life, had childhood trauma, was homeless, living on the streets. I can't even imagine that trauma as a woman.
Yeah.
And to do a whole 360. So I tell you that story to know that no matter where you've been, what you've seen, you can heal and you can begin to regulate and not feel depressed every day and anxiety every day. But it's just about you loving yourself enough to know that you can have that control and not to settle. Don't settle for this lifestyle. Don't think this has to be it. Don't wake up in the morning and let depression lead and let anxiety lead. You take control of it. You talk to yourself in the mirror, whatever you may have to do. Listen, I used to have to play Lil Wayne, dance around, whatever. Let me also tell you this, a morning routine. We're creatures of habit. So say you lay in your bed every morning, that's what you're going to continue to do, and that's not good for you. You know, get up, whether it be pray, meditate, just get up and create a routine in the morning so your body can get used to getting up and doing something for yourself. I always tell people how you prepare your mind in the morning is really going to dictate how you're going to be able to deal with stressors throughout the day. You got to put that armor on for your mind, just like we put clothes on, just like we put makeup on. You need to prepare your mind. So meditating, exercising, reading the word, if that's your thing, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Do that
I just
prior
want to
to
say,
getting on your phone,
don't,
please.
don't,
Stop giving
yes,
everybody all your
exactly what
energy.
I'm saying. Don't get on your phone. I
Don't get
made
on
that,
your
I
phone, because
had
that's
made that
demands
mistake.
from the world you don't need right away.
Instantly, instantly. I did that the other day. I wake up every morning and I either do a meditation or I do positive affirmations, right? And this one time I'm like, oh, let me see these text messages and check the text messages, pissed off by the first text message, right?
Right.
Then I'm like, let me go on Instagram. Then I look at some girl or whatever, and then I'm feeling self-conscious. I'm mad
Right.
and I feel ugly now. So now I'm like, gotta dig myself all the way out of that when I could have just
Exactly.
had a beautiful, straightforward day. And I just was like, never again. We're not doing that ever again. Just keep to order. Create the new neural pathways in your
In your brain.
brain. You
Yeah.
gotta retrain your brain. Simple.
And you
Simple.
can reframe it, and it's you can do it. You just need help, and nobody's judging you, because I'm someone that did it. I went down that road. I was crazy as all hell. I blacked out, y'all, my last day of high school, beating people up. Like, I am not that person anymore. You can change. I really promise. Like, I really, really promise. And that's why I got into this field, because I was like, okay, I did it. I had the experience too. But I really, really just hope that you all know that you're worthy and you deserve to be happy and to love yourself. And just make sure that every day, like you did self-affirmations, make sure every day, I ask a lot of people this: when was the last time you told yourself I love you? Tell everybody else I love you. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and said I love you to yourself? Yeah. You have to love yourself. And that means talking to yourself. I talk to myself before this interview. I said, oh, you're it. Like, you're a masterpiece. I talk to myself all the time. I'm always uplifting everyone else and speaking existence into everybody else. You have to make sure you start with yourself.
Damn right. You got to build
it's not
your
being
kingdom.
conceited. It's not being self-centered. I think they kind of brainwashed us in that way, that you got to put everybody first. But I can't put everybody first. I have to be first so that I can pour into others. If I'm down here, I'm pouring 40% into people that I'm pouring into, because I'm down here, I'm struggling. I'm not giving you my best. I have to take, and that's for parents. Yes, you come before your kids. Ooh, that's going to strike some people. And when I don't say, like, okay, save your child, but you have to take care of yourself first too. You can't be there for your kid if you're not self-caring for yourself. So that might unfortunately look like waking up a little earlier. I'm sorry. But you got to take care of you. Yeah. So I always encourage that. Please do these things. Reach out to me if you guys have any questions. I am here. I love what I do, and I really truly believe that God put me on here, on this earth, for this, and to remind people that it's okay to take time to work on your mind.
Yeah. I'm glad. I think we're coming to the end. Yeah, we are, but that's okay. But I'm glad that you told your story about, blacking out high school, because that was me. I was always told that I was this angry, rageful person. And it's like, once I addressed the trauma and I looked at stuff, and I'm like, no, that was actually, in some instances, that was actually the appropriate response for abuse and neglect and all these things. And you just didn't want to feel bad about it. So here we were. It was just easier to tell me I was wrong. So you definitely always can change. You can always get better. It is hard. When you do a positive affirmation, this is just one thing I'm going to say. Don't ever say that you're perfect, because if you're perfect, that means you don't have any room to grow. Right. Say, I'm getting better every day, because that allows you the space to create, and it cuts you some slack, because perfect is not easy, and perfect is not forgiving, and it's not kind. Amen. It is just you have to just let yourself know, I am getting better every day, and you just take this one step at a time. And like you said, if you're smoking the whole blunt, you're going to smoke half tomorrow, and after that you're going to smoke 4 puffs, and then 1 puff, and the next thing you know, you don't need it so much. You're going to wait till you get home from work, and that's when you're going to blow off the steam, versus trying to have to deal through your day. So just be mindful. I just want to let people know, you know, follow you. You can
Yes.
follow the Worthy Lifestyle app. You also have a Instagram for that as well.
Yes.
So you can follow the Worthy Lifestyle Instagram. I'll tag you in this. Just make sure that you guys explore, you know, hit us both up. I may not be licensed, but I got some things coming.
But you're an advocate. And that's all that matters. You have experience. Sometimes that's better than a licensed person. Trust and believe.
Yeah, no. Trust me, I've been to enough licensed people to be like, I even told one, I was like, I think you need to go back to school.
And sometimes they do.
Yes, yes. Oh wait, before I forget, the one thing I wanted to recommend to people and is the cognitive behavioral workbook for anxiety.
Yes.
I know, like literally, I pulled this out when we have like less than 2 minutes to speak about it. But if you go on my website, there's a link to purchase it on Amazon. If you don't want to support Jeff Bezos, you don't have to. You can find it. I also have the PDF file for the whole book is also on there already. So if you want the tangible one, purchase it. If you don't need it, it's the PDF file is also on my website under resources. But this is great to just at least get some ideas. How, like, what the hell? Why am I so anxious?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what can we do? So even if you need to smoke and open it up and just take a look.
Hey,
that's one step at a time. You're getting better every day.
Exactly.
Thank you guys for coming. I'm glad that this got to work. I'm definitely gonna have you come back because we definitely gotta talk some more.
Yes, please. I love your energy. I love this. I love what you're doing. So I'm all here for it.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you a lot, and a lot of what you said resonated, and I know it's going to resonate with a few people that came through today because we've been talking about this for weeks now. So I'm glad that this came out all. Everybody got to see it. So I gotta go because I need to smoke.
I feel you. Go ahead, girl.
Bye, everybody.
Reach out to me soon. I'm gonna be in contact with you soon.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Good night. Enjoy your smoke session.
I will.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.